Welcome back. Let's get this book done and let's get the box done. And so this is the second part of the tutorial for the game or card box. And what we're going to start out with is covering the book. And so if you can see the book, there's just a notepad here, so it could be a scoring pad. And in here you can put any of the rules in this pocket. And when we play, the game that we play most often is hand and foot, and that's the reason why I was making this box, because you play with 4 decks with 4 people or 6 decks with 6 people, and we were forever counting out decks of cards. So I thought I would make a 4 box and a 6 box and make it as simple as that. So I'm going to put the rules in here, and I'm going to laminate the rules so that everybody can have a sheet for the points, and it is replaceable as well. This notepad under here can be slipped out. So the biggest part is just making sure that what slips, how this slips in or slips out is that you make sure it measures your notepads properly. So for my notepads, this is the directions or design that we're going to be using. And so we're going to start off by getting the book covered. So what I did is I tried to cut out and ink everything ahead of time, and to save a little bit of time going through covering the notebook. So what we're going to start out with is I just labeled my notebooks front and back, and my papers as well. So the papers on the outside of the box, the book is 5 1/4 by 8 1/8. So I cut my my burgundy cardstock by 5 1/8 by 8. And then the pattern paper I cut 5 by 7 7/8. And then I went and inked around all the edges. Maybe I missed one here. Thought I got them all. So the other thing is that once you're putting this paper on, a lot of times you can measure items out, and maybe you just measured a little bit off here or there. So remember that you can always cut it down. So if you measure it a little bit too big, that's really okay. But it's also important that you always dry fit what you're doing, just to make sure it's where you want it to be, and you haven't cut it and got all the glue on it before you lay it down on your book. So just going to go ahead and we're going to cover the book. And this is the front. And it gives me just a couple minutes to have some wiggle room to make sure that we're all down. And remember to have something handy to rub off any of the glue. All right, and then we've got our and again, I already worked all around the sides of this, or smudged all around the sides with vintage photo. So I'm going to just try to match that up by those corners. And then we'll go along here, making sure it's the way that we want it to be. And then we've got the back cover, and I'm just going to dry fit that very quickly. The one thing is I did go and cut this back cover, and thought I had it too large, and I ended up cutting just a little bit off. So I'm going to have the back with a little bit more of a border of burgundy than the front, but it's okay. It's a homemade item, and it's not, I will notice it before anybody else will notice it, so I'm not going to worry about it. All right, we got that down. So, the other thing that's really nice about this box is that you could even use something similar to this for putting mini albums in, and or trinkets, or even something in your craft room, little doodads in your craft room. So I'm going to pull this down just a little bit because I want to make sure I'm getting this as even as possible on the back. And I think that looks pretty good. It's one thing I like about the art glitter glue. First of all, it sticks so well, and it also dries very clear. I've had other albums that had people look at and they've said, oh my gosh, you don't have any glue sticking out anywhere. And it's really because it's the art glitter glue is doing its thing. So then on these are the spine pieces for the inside and the outside. And the burgundy is 5 1/8. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's 3/8. Oh, sorry. Where's my? I can't read my own writing. So that would be 5/8. Yep, 5/8. And then the 5, that would have been 5/8 by 8, and the pattern paper is 1/2 by 7 7/8. Again, we're just going to quickly dry fit where we've got everything, and same thing with the pattern paper. Sure that all goes to the edges of the paper. Now I want to dry fit this to make sure that if that one is a little bit too long. Let me see if the other one is I must have cut that incorrectly. Both of them are actually a little bit too long. I think I'm going to just trim a small bit of that off, and we should be good to go. So going to trim that off with my, of course, you know, I always do that, and then I can't see my pencil mark. Okay, let's just make sure it's the right, where we want it to be, and hit that with the vintage photo, and we're good to go. So for these spine pieces, you're going to need 2 of them. Just like with the cover pieces, you'll need 2 of them, one for the inside and one for the outside. So, and they're the same measurements for both. So you can go ahead and pre-cut them and then just get everything together. What I did this time, because I had made it before, I just cut all the pieces out in advance, and then went ahead and put the vintage photo all around on it. So we're going to do this spine piece first. And And I just really liked, the reason why I'm doing this, it's not something that you have to do, but I wanted to do the burgundy because I thought it brought out a little bit more of the paper, and rather than just having it black all around. So I'm gonna mark that and cut that one off too. Just check it one more time. All right. This is always the fun part of doing the folio or the album or the box, is getting the paper on. So, all right, and then we're going to move on to doing the inside of the book. And what I have here is the inside, the notepad pocket. And basically, I have cut this at 6 1/8 by 7 1/2, but that is to account for scoring along the side of the paper, because we need to score this at a 1/2 inch to make the pocket. I wanted to make it a little bit bigger so that the notepad cardboard would fit in there. So I'm just going to score that at a 1/2 inch. So that's our notepad. And then the other thing that we're going to have is the pocket on the other side. And so the pocket on the other side also has to be scored. So how about if we do that right away? And that inside, or the inside pocket for the rule side, the rule pocket, I cut that at 6 1/4 by 4. So let's just go ahead and score that, and then I could put this away. All right, I'm going to put that off to the side, and we're done scoring for a little bit. So I'm going to, right off the bat, take the bulk out of those corners, and we're going to score those down real good. So what is everybody else doing on their Saturday afternoon? This is what I'm doing. I don't get to really craft during the week too often. Most of my crafting is done on the weekends. So how many other ones of you just craft on the weekend and not during the week? I really can't because of working, and I just need some downtime from my working. So all right, so I'm just going to test this out to see, and it looks like it fits really good. But the other thing that I want to do is I want to take one of my notepads. Let me see if I can find one, and just make sure that it fits in there well. Let me see how many. Okay. So I just want to test that to make sure before I just assume that everything is fine. So if I put that down, yeah, it's a little bit tight. I think we're gonna just give it a little bit more room here, but I think we're gonna be good. So just gonna give a little glue right here to get that down. One of the other tips that I was told by some other mini album makers is that they always put this outside pocket this bottom flap to the outside of the pocket, because it makes it easier for items to go down inside the pocket. The other thing that I had seen somebody had done is they actually even took and put tape across here, or double-sided, or not double-sided, single-sided tape across here, and that it helped to slide items in. I'm not going to do that today, but I am going to miter these corners. That was probably the better way to do it, so that it also helps to let that notebook go down a little bit easier. And let's get this glued in. Get a little sloppy there with my glue. I also want this to go probably just a little bit more to the outside of the book than toward the inside, just because of the folding and bending. Not that it's that significant of an amount, but that's just my preference. So then we're going to take our cardstock or our patterned paper and put that onto our pocket. And you can honestly leave this blank if you would like to leave it blank, or you don't have to cover it up, because it's really just going to be under the notepad. I just really liked that it had patterned paper on it. I thought it just made it look a little bit more finished. Besides, these were printables and I had the paper, so put that on. You don't have a lot of time with art glitter glue, but you have more time with that than you do with score tape, so that's the good thing. All right. And then underneath the notepad, I just cut paper that I could tuck in, and actually it looks like it's a little bit, needs to be a little bit smaller, so I'm just going to take, I have this measured as 5 1/8 by 3, and I'm actually going to make that 5 by 3. So to make that a little bit, fit in there a little bit better, and it's just to cover the chipboard on there. It's nothing more than that. So in fact, you don't even have to put anything in up here. I just like the way it looks. So you can decide and just dry fit and then decide which way you would like to put your papers in. So actually what I did with that is it's going to be 5 by 3 because it fit into the pocket a little better. All right, you know, I'm just looking at this and thinking now, I think I forgot to cut one piece of paper for my book, and for the other side, the inside, I think I might have, but we'll get the rest of this going. So we're going to put the other pocket on, and this is the piece that I think I forgot to cut for. So I will, let's get the pocket done and in, and then I will see if I have that other piece. And I'm just mitering the corner on these to get rid of the bulk, and I will miter this up top as well, staying away from that score line a little bit. And once we have this cut, I want to just dry fit it to make sure that it's all fitting okay. Yeah, I don't see that piece of paper. So. See, and this is what happens when you don't cut that close enough to the corner. You kind of get little edges on there, so you just trim them off. And again, dry fitting that pocket. Looks like we're good. And then our paper will go on here. Let's just match that up quickly. I think we're good there as well. And again, the pocket is 6 1/4 by 4, and that's accounting for the 1/2 inch scoring and the 1/2 inch on the bottom, and then the paper for that is 5 1/8 by 3 3/8. That's how I've cut that. Okay. Trying to keep that away from the, putting it more to the front edge of the cover rather than right in the spine, so we can keep it much more easy to close. All right, so let's take our paper once again. We fit that in and it looks good. Got that fitted. That looks good. All right, like that joker right there. So I do not see my card or my paper for that. So let's go ahead and let's get this figured out to cover this, and I'm going to go ahead and measure that, and then I will come back because I've got to dig out my burgundy card and get that fitted. So I'm going to finish this up because you've seen what I've done here with all of this, and basically I'm going to be putting sliding a notepad in. And the more that you slide it in, the easier it will get because the papers will move a little bit. Oh well, so much for it being easier. Oh my goodness. Isn't that always the case, is that once you get on video, something doesn't work. I've watched that happen so many times with other crafters. And where's my ruler? Ah well. So I will push this down. It's not going down easily right now. And actually, if I think about it, that probably would have been a good thought. So if you're watching this first before you make this, what actually might have been a good thought to do, I'm thinking, is maybe to have adhered down the base and then put that tape over the top of the base and then put the sides up, because I think the reason why it's sticking is because of that base at the bottom here. So I just need to work that down a little bit, and that won't be so hard to do, but I think that would alleviate that problem in the future. So I'm just going to finish this off. I'm not going to tape any of that, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to finish off putting our paper on the box. We will start on the outside of the box and then work to the inside. All right, I'll see you back in a little bit. All right, so we're back, and I finished off this part of the pocket. And it's a good thing you weren't watching me because I made several different mistakes. I have to just laugh at myself. Sometimes I think I'm so prepared and then I'm not. So our book is done. We've got our papers in there. So the next thing that we're going to be working on is the box itself. And we're going to do all of the outside first because we need to get this onto the front of the box, and we want to be able to cover over those brads once we're done. So I'm going to go through the cardstock and the sizes that everything is. So I have all my papers put together, and basically what this is going to be, the top lid outside is going to be in the burgundy. I should start with that. Is going to be 8 3/8 by 9 1/8, and then the paper is going to be 8 1/4 by 9, and those are going to go together. And then the outside pieces, the burgundy, you're going to need to cut 2 of the 8 3/8 by 1 7/8. That's for the short side of the box. And then the patterned paper for that, those are going to be 8 1/4 by 1 3/4. So you'll need 2 of those for those papers. And then for the long piece, the burgundy piece is 8 7/8. Now I have 9 here. I think I've cut that one too long, or did I cut this one too short? Well, we'll have to see. Well, I cut the front just a little bit shorter than I would have wanted it. So I have this as 8 7/8, so this probably should have been, I should have done that as 9. And I think I kind of confused the papers there. So what we're going to do is the top sides are going to be 9 by 1 7/8, and then the paper itself will be 8 7/8 by 1 3/4. So let me just get these put on. I don't want to have you watch me do all of that again. Once I get this done, then we'll go around to doing the rest, or we'll do the bottom of the outside. I'll get you those pieces as well. All right, so I have the top covered, the outside, and all the way around. The next thing that I'm going to do is to do the back, the bottom, and all around the sides. So I'm going to give you those tape or paper measurements right now, and then we're going to put on the front of this box this. And I measured this handle, I measured it just to the middle, and I'll show you how we're going to be doing that after I get you the sizes for the papers on the outside. So the bottom outside, that's going to be 8 1/8 by 2 3/8, and that's the sides of the bottom of the box. That's the burgundy. You're going to need 2 of those. And then you'll need 2 of the papers, which are 8 by 2 1/4, and you'll need 2 of those as well. And then the front and the back, the burgundy is 8 7/8 by 2 3/8. That will be 2 of those. And the papers will be 8 3/4 by 2 1/4, and you'll need 2 of those as well. Then the bottom of the box, to cover that, you will need a piece of burgundy that will be 8 1/8 by 8 7/8, and the paper will be 8 by 8 3/4, and that will be on the bottom. So I'm going to put these on off camera, and come back after that's done. But I want to first put, for goodness sakes, but I would like to first put, attach this pull to the front of this, and then I will get those other pieces on, and I will get the items ready for the inside of the box. And we're almost done then, but I just want to make sure I have all my measurements correct on those two before I get going. Just amazing how sometimes you can think you have the right measurements. So what we're going to do is I kind of eyeballed this, and then I measured it out, and what came up was about 3.5 to 3.5, and this fit right in the center of that. So I am going to find my pokey tool here, and I'm going to go ahead and get our piece on here, and I'm going to have to lift this up and down. Sorry about the noise in the background. That's my big puppy. His name is Genesis. Both of them are sleeping behind me. They went to doggy daycare yesterday, and so they're both a little sleepy today, but that's a good thing because they're both very big dogs. They're Mastiffs, but they're an Italian Mastiff, a Cane Corso. And they both have lots of energy. Our one is, actually he'll be 2 at the end of this month. And our other one is on the 9th, so this is just before the 9th, will be turning 6 months. And our 6-month-old is just growing like a weed. He's about 60 pounds, and our 2-year-old is about, I think probably about 95, 98 pounds. So definitely our 6-month-old is going to be the bigger of the two. One is a brindle, black brindle, and goodness, I can't get these. Sorry if my head's in the way or fingers in the way. I'm just trying to get these brads apart. It might help if I put my glasses on. I might be able to see it a little bit better. So our 6-month-old, he weighs probably at least 65 pounds now. And our 2.5-year-old, like I said, is about, or not 2.5, he's going to be 2 at the end of the month. He is 98, 95 pounds, something like that. So they're a little bit of a smaller Mastiff because they're an Italian Mastiff, and they're called a Cane Corso. It's spelled like Cane Corso, but it's a Cane Corso, and they're just really a great dog. All right, so I've got all those pieces in here, and we're going to cover those over with our paper. If you find that it's not tight enough, you might have to just push that down a little bit, but there we have our handle or our lift for our box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off the outside of the box, and then I will come back and give you the measurements for the inside of the box, and we'll finish that up, and I think we're pretty close to done then. So I will see you back in just a couple of minutes. Okay, well, we are back. We've got the outside and the back and bottom done. Now we're just needing to finish the inside to cover that all up. So I'm going to give you the measurements to all the pieces, and then we can just finish it up. I'll finish it up and come back and show you the finished item, and we are good to go. One of the things, though, that I want to tell you is that the measurements all work within this box, but sometimes the way something gets moved or something gets put in, you might have to just take a look at it and dry fit it as you go. And I took and dry fitted all of these items, and then what I'm going to be doing and what I have been doing is taking these and gluing this onto here and then putting it in my box or on the outside of the box. So makes it a little bit quicker to go that way. So these pieces right here are, if you have put a divider in, depending upon where you've put your divider in your box, you've got pieces here, and here, and here. And then I have the divider out separately. So starting with the small ends, these are, the burgundy card is 2 3/8 by 3, and you'll need 2 of those. And then for the bottom back inside here, these are, burgundy is 5 5/8 by 2 3/8, and the paper is 5 1/2 by 2 1/4, and those all, matching all of that. And you'll need 2 of those as well. And then around the very outside of the box, and well, not the outside, sorry, the inside, but the sides, your burgundy card is going to be, 8 1/8 by 2 3/8, and your paper would be 8 by 2 1/8. That's 2 1/4. So that's for the inside around the box. And then if we go to the rest of the inside of the box, so these papers are for the divider, which is these parts of this box. And what I have for those, the burgundy is 1 7/8 by 8 1/8, and the paper is 1 3/4 by 8, and you'll need 2 of those. And then we have this piece, and this piece is for, why am I blanking? What is this piece for? Oh, bottom inside. So inside the bottom of this box, it's the burgundy card is 3 1/8 by 8 1/8, and the paper is 3 by 8. And then this is the bottom for this side. That measurement, the burgundy is 5 5/8 by 8 1/8, and the paper is 5 1/2 by 8. And again, I'm going to go ahead and glue all of these together, and that's basically your bottom. So then on the top of the box, which is going to be around the sides here and then right in here, these pieces you are going to need, this is the top lid inside. Along the side, that is 8 3/8 by 1 7/8 is the burgundy, and you'll need 2 of those. And then the paper is 8 1/4 by 1 3/4. Again, 2 of those of each. And then the long side, or which is the front side of it, the burgundy, oh, I didn't write it down, but just reading this, it will be 1 3/4 by 9 1/8. So I know it should be 1 7/8. Yes, 1 7/8 by 9 1/8. That'll be the burgundy. You need 1 of those. And then the paper is 1 3/4 by 9. So that's the sides. And then the very top of it, the top lid inside, the burgundy is 8 3/8 by 9 1/8, and the paper is 8 1/4 by 9. So if you get all of those glued together, then we'll come back and just see the final product, and we'll get our book in and our cards into the box as well. So I'll see you in just a minute. All right, so we're back here with our box. It's finally finished. We've got the insides done. We've got our book inside the box and everything there, and our cards over here. And again, you can rearrange that divider any way that you'd like, or if you want to put a small folio or something in here and then putting cards or writing utensils, all kinds of things, and just depending upon the paper you use. The only thing I'm going to end up doing with this box yet is probably put a number on here. I wanted to do something with a 6 or a 4 for the different games. So here's my other box, and so we're all set and ready for 4th of July, when the whole family's going up, and we will be ready for our games. So thank you so much for coming along with me, and I will have some other tutorials coming up. I am looking at another mini album that I've started, and then I'm also going to do a folio with I think it's a Liberty paper by Authentique. So thanks so much, and remember to always have fun with what you're doing, and it will never be work. So have fun, have a great day.